I'm Michael Apple. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey originally, and spent a good deal of time teaching in Paterson in schools that I went to in a very poor area, and then was president of a teachers union in the southern part of New Jersey, and also teaching in rural schools. So my background is quite practical in some ways. The academic background of that, I went to Columbia for a master's and doctorate, and now hold the John Baskin Distinguished Professorship at the University of Wisconsin, and a distinguished professorship at the University of Manchester, and a number of universities in China. So I get a chance to look all over the world and try and find out what they can teach me as well as what I can teach them. Well, I come from a very poor family, and it was instilled on me as a family of printers, where the written word and critical literacy was crucial, that some groups' knowledge were important and other groups' knowledge weren't important. And since I went to very poor high schools in Paterson, New Jersey, and came from a family that was quite politically active, what it meant was that already, before even the academic work, there was a question of, what's missing? Why am I bored? Why are other students bored? Why are so many of my friends dropping out of schools? And so the autobiographical roots of the questions I ask, I think, are important to remember. I ask simple questions. I ask whose knowledge is taught, whose knowledge isn't, why and why not, who benefits from the way schools are organized, who doesn't benefit, and what can we do about it? And behind this is a question of who is the we, who is marginalized, who is not. And in my mind, the most dangerous word in the English language actually is the word we. When we say we have public schools, we have to ask, whose schools actually are there? What happens to so many kids who don't do well? Is that because of the way society is organized, is the way that schools are organized? And I try and answer the question, not just how do we deconstruct this and look at power relations, but I think just as importantly, what can people who are deeply involved critically in thinking about education, what can we do about it? I spent many years working in Brazil with Paulo Freire, who was a friend and teacher in many ways, although I was not strongly influenced by Freire until later on when some of my books were translated in Brazil. I come from a laborist background, a sort of Highlander folk school background, and was one of the early people who then became called freedom riders. So a lot of that is again, this biographical sense of we have to make a difference, and we have to form alliances that transform these institutions that are so important to children and parents and community members in a society that rhetorically says it's democratic, but it's a little more rhetorical than I think we would like to admit. First, Ideology and Curriculum is a book that took me 7 years to write. It was an attempt to try and find out how do we think about the relationship of power and knowledge. And in the new edition, this is the 4th edition now, I'm trying to do some things. One is to say, look, what can we do about it again? So there's a good deal of new material on what social movements can do, what alliances can be built that are cut across class and race and gender and ability relations. And even more importantly, I think, even though the book has been called one of the most important books in the 20th and 21st centuries in education, and I'm sort of proud of that, what I try and do in the new edition is to be much more personal. So it's got much more on me and why I make these claims. An example would be this. In books that came after Ideology and Curriculum, I spend a good deal of time asking, why is it so many people are turning to the right? What do they find attractive in Trump? What do they find attractive in very conservative religious understandings? And when I talk about this in a number of nations, one of the things that I'm often asked is, okay, Michael, who are you? That is, what is your background? And also, where do you stand in terms of the power of religion and people's consciousness? So there's a good deal of material now in there that I try to be very honest about. Where do I stand on this? What is it about these questions that I find compelling and why? So it's a much more revealing than the more structural kinds of analyses that I normally give. So the new material is I'm being a little transgressive and a little dangerous, I think. The book has been translated into 20 or 30 languages. And this one, I want to sort of let it hang out. I want to say, okay, this is me also. It's not just a book. and what are the roots of this? And I also add much more on what can we do about it. So I'm committed to two things: understanding power and trying to figure out what we can do about it. So it's got a good deal of stuff now on sort of returning to books that came after ideology and curriculum. What can we do to interrupt this? What can critical educators do to do this? What can community mobilizers do? What do we know about these kinds of things? And a good deal more international material at the same time. I come from a background that is not simply abstract. The task for me is always to say, if I'm a teacher, what can I do about it? How do I understand the intensification of my work, the de-skilling of teachers' lives, the blaming of teachers all over the world right now for things that they can't control? So the book, historically and now, has a particular audience that is educators, partly like myself, who come out of classrooms working in real situations where the funding is less than it should be, where the respect for teachers is declining all over the world, where performance pay tells us, unfortunately, that a good teacher is just somebody who gets high test scores. So I want to argue against that. I think it's a very, very bad idea and deeply disrespectful to people who are working very, very hard every day. So the primary audience is teachers, administrators, and critical educators who really care about what goes on in schools. But it also has another audience. The book historically has been important for political science, for sociology, for philosophers who are trying to figure out what are the kind of concepts that enable us to put on a set of glasses. So instead of looking at these glasses, I put on other glasses and say, how do I look at schools differently when I look at it through a different lens? So I want to, it's a very ambitious project, which is, can I write something that is can work through multiple audiences? And that's very, very hard work. So this fourth edition, in many ways, took me much longer to write than I expected, in part because I am very dissatisfied if when I'm trying to do something, you need 3 books to understand it. Michael Apple, then a dictionary of Michael Apple, then the dictionary of theory about Michael Apple. So it has been an interesting project, and I think it succeeds. It goes beyond what the initial editions were, but in ways that I think connect as much to the broader audiences, and perhaps more with the broader audiences than before.